welcome everybody to my third show. Thank you for coming online, everybody coming on and watching my videos for the last few weeks. I hope everyone is having an amazing day, I've actually got an amazing guest today, another amazing guest, and you're going to learn so much from him. His name is Brian Canavan, and he's going to give us amazing tips how to feel good, how to manage stress, and how to feel unstuck. Now, before I introduce get him on, I'm going to tell you a bit about his background. He's actually had a very extensive background in various areas of his life, different fields, and he started with actually in the marketing and IT support, and he actually helped so many businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, for many, many years. And then he's been kind of working with multinational businesses as well as a marketing manager. And in 2008, due to stress-related illnesses, he's actually decided to rethink his career, and that's when he actually embarked in getting coaching for himself and to manage stress. And from there, he decided to launch his own business marketing as a marketing consultant. But because he had the experience of the coaching side, he's decided to actually go in deeper in self-development and started to learn about NLP, CBT, and then he became fully qualified coach in 2015. But also, thing is that he's actually launched a book, called Get Your Mojo Working Fast. Mojo, yes. And he's actually helps people around the world. He does one-to-one coaching. He actually does self-development training. So he offers so much, and he has helped so many people. And today he's going to share with us how he's helped those people and maybe share some tips with us, the viewers, and how to improve their life. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Aladin. Delighted to be here.
Yeah. So, looking at your background from a marketing IT support consultant to becoming a coach, that's a big jump.
It was, yes. That all came about, as you said, from stress-related illness. When I was working, coming from an SME actually into a larger organisation, and into an organisation that just didn't fit with me culturally or in terms of values. I'm quite an altruistic person, almost a kind of socialist, you could say, verging on communist. And the organisation I worked for was a large multinational that was only interested in the bottom line, not in people at all. And the culture was such that the pressure people were being put under really made them quite ill, and it actually made me very ill. And it was at the point where my daughter was about to be born that we decided, my wife and I, that enough was enough. Time to call it a day and walk out and leave that behind.
It must have been quite difficult to do that, especially being in a job like that, because I know majority of the people out there are similar to what you've been through, are going like, they're going through this, it's a stressful situation, or they don't like their job. And it's it's kind of scary to go to something.
It got to the point with me where my health was deteriorating to such an extent. I'd been an insomniac for about 5 years and medicated with that, so on pills for a while, off them, and trying to get through that way, and that takes its toll on your body and your mind actually. So my wife was a nurse, as you know, basically said to me, enough's enough, we can't keep living like this, so we don't care how much money it is we'll lose here, stop. So I needed that external catalyst to say to me as well, because as a West of Scotland man, I was saying to myself, I need to be the breadwinner, I need to be bringing in the money. The house that we'd bought, we had the first child on the way, and I was in a very well-paid, salaried job, one of the highest paid market managers in Scotland outside financial services industry. So to walk away from that was quite a wrench, but it got to the point where my own GP and my wife said, no, enough, we have to stop. It's got to stop now, or you might not be here to enjoy seeing your kids.
Wow. So going into, obviously you experienced coach, I mean, when you were going through this stress-related illness, and you had some coaching?
It was an ex-colleague of mine from the construction industry actually introduced me to a coach, and I was quite sceptical at first. Not having been around coaches, not having been exposed to coaches before. And I was really quite sceptical about it, and I thought, this is just a load of hokum and this is rubbish. But I really respected the lady who referred me to the coach. Mm-hmm. And within 6 weeks of working with this coach, I was sleeping through the night without any pills. I was basically almost kind of reset myself. Mm-hmm. And my health started to improve. My mental function started to improve because I was getting sleep, despite the baby being there, much to my wife's annoyance. But I was getting that sleep. I was getting back to being me again, where I hadn't been me before. I'd been quite inauthentic. So going through that coaching was the first really big. I'd always been interested in psychology and personal development.
Yes.
And that took me into my marketing career. But I'd always been interested in the personal development side of things as well. And I'd had some experience of it as a teenager through counselling, but never in coaching like that. And to get the coaching and to have such a dramatic effect in such a short time suddenly opened my eyes, and I was like, right, what is this? Now,
here's a question people ask: what's the difference between counselling and coaching?
Right. Never having been a counsellor, I can't really say, but the counselling I've had in the past was more giving you techniques and I say methodologies about how to deal with things and telling you what to do. A coach should never tell you what to do. Unless they say, I'm breaking from the coaching mould here and we're going to have a conversation as me more of a counsellor or mentor. But a coach should ask you the questions to let you come up with your answers, so that you own them. That's the main difference for me.
Yeah, because I know that when I was, as Brian, you know, I actually worked with quite a few people myself, and people say to me, am I a coach? And I kind of get confused because I'm used to giving guidance. You know, I guide people, as like you say, I don't tell people what to do, I allow them to find the answers. Yeah. It's just that you kind of allow, you know, we as coaches, I think, or you don't need to be coached, but we got a knack of kind of seeing other people, what the potential they have.
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's something that I've always done, even when I was in the marketing roles, and I had assistants and things. It was mentoring them a lot, shielding them a lot from the stress that was coming down from on high, which happens in corporate and it happens in any big organisation, but also then trying to develop them to be the best they can be, so that, you know, hopefully someday they outstrip me and they go into bigger and better things than even I'd done. You know, that was part of what I thought was my legacy to leave to people, was that if they'd worked with me, they'd be able to go on and do better things.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. So let's talk about the stress. I mean, that's one of the biggest.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems in the UK,
yeah.
I think, and I know I've come across people who are stressed, and I get a lot of messages from people who are stressed out. They said, kind of, I was saying to you before, it's this different level of stress, you know, so can you kind of give me explain more about that?
Yeah, what kind of we all need a certain amount of stress as a kind of driver and motivator in life, otherwise it would be very boring.
Yeah.
You know, we get stressed when we go to watch a scary movie at the cinema. So we all need some kind of stress to drive us on in life. But the kind of stress that I'm talking about that I experienced that led to the kind of debilitating illnesses was being totally at odds with your own internal values and beliefs, and having to act in a way that was inauthentic to that, that led to the stress. And that's quite a lot of what I talk about in my experience of that in the book, Get Your Mojo Working Fast. But it's knowing when you've crossed that line from energizing stress, excitement. You know, there's things that can be exciting, and so there's actually a very good TED talk if you look at a lady talking about how you can reframe stress to be excitement, and you can to a certain extent. But once it gets to the point where you are not living authentically, you're not living within your values and your beliefs, then I think you cross into the other side where it becomes harmful to you.
So it's a lot of, as you mentioned before, what you kind of suffered, stress-related illness. People could be, I mean, people is like pains in the body could be one of the factors. Could be this one that could be related to stress.
Yeah.
And and people go to the doctors and saying there's something's wrong with me, and then they get pills.
Yeah.
But it's not really diagnosed as maybe stress.
I think we're getting better at it now. I think GPs are getting better at it. Certainly the GP I had, he's now retired. He was actually the GP for the West of Scotland who looked after young doctors with stress. So he knew the symptoms to look out for, and he saw exactly what I was going through. And it advised me to change my career a couple of times, or to change my post a couple of times before things really came to a head. But I think they're getting better at it. A lot of the times we are still looking for a pharmacological, give me a pill to fix it. And that comes from us as well as from the GPs and from the pressure for them to get results for us. But I think there's other things that we need to look at to help us in there. And as you know, about mindfulness and meditation, and actually knowing who you are and being authentic within that can help us with the stress. Because otherwise you do end up with these debilitating illnesses. I mean, I had a lot of gastrointestinal problems. I had headaches, severe headaches caused by neck tension, and obviously by the insomnia as well. So it does lead you, and sometimes GPs see that as just symptoms to be treated rather than going to the root cause, which is the stress in itself.
Yeah. One thing I know for myself, for stress-wise, I sometimes, I can't sleep. That's one of the things, and I'm like getting headaches. One of the things that I because everyone's kind of suffering in a different way, but that's one of the things that I used to, and I actually get like pain in the back of my head. I knew right away if that's stress related, because I get that. That's a trigger point for me, and that's something that allows me to just, I can stand still and take a couple of deep breaths. Relax, kind of thing.
Yeah, but you need to be aware that the stress that's causing it. Too many of us are just reaching for the ibuprofen or paracetamol, and they're thinking, well, you'll just get rid of the symptom without treating the cause of it, which is what's causing that stress for us. What's the thought in our head that's causing the stress? Because a lot of the stress that I experienced, I brought on myself by my thinking and rigid thinking about the way things should be. I call that the dreaded should, and in Scotland it's great because it relates to the shooters. The shoulders, in Scotland you call them the shooters, and it's you feel them tensing up. Yeah. And that's when everything, it should be like this, it should be like this. Yeah. And if you can let that go, the shoulders relax, you can breathe a bit, and you don't experience so much of the stress. And the other thing about, you say, lying awake at night with your mind going over and over, and that one fantastic little tip, if you don't mind me sharing.
No, of course.
The coach gave me was, I had so much going through my head about things that were going on in my life, personal life, business life, kids just been born, being a new father, not really knowing what I was doing, and I was lying there and everything was going, all those cogs were going at night, and at that, you would sleep for 2 hours and you wake up and your mind loves to throw you what it likes to look at as problems at 2 in the morning. 2 to 4 in the morning, it's like, that's a great time for you to start thinking about this stuff, let's get you thinking about it then. But it's obviously really bad for you, and that was part of the insomnia. So what the coach got me to do was to actually write down all the things that I was thinking about, or that I would potentially be thinking about, the things that are day-to-day worries, like, is the kids okay? What's happening at work? And actually park those by writing them down for when I'm going to think about it. So I would write down that I'm going to think about when to get the car fixed in the shower in the morning for the next day. I'd write down, when I'm going to plan my work day, 7:30 when I get to the office. That I'll be doing that, and I had parked it, so it lets your subconscious just park it and just say, right, it's getting taken care of. I'm not ignoring you. Thanks, subconscious, for making me aware of it and trying to protect me. But I'm going to do it then. And it just lets your subconscious let it go. And that was one of the major factors in getting me sleeping again after all that years of stress. A simple technique like that really worked so well. Well, certainly for me anyway. It just parked it for me and let me sleep through the night. It was a great trick.
Great. I always believe that we've all got a choice. For you, you were aware, what was basically causing your illness, and you made that choice, and your family, you got the family support. And I'm sure there are people out there who want to make the change, but they're not getting the support. And some people might blame other people, it's easy to blame, saying he or she did that, I can't do this because it's causing me stress. We have a choice to change our lives.
Yeah.
That's why I believe we have that.
Yeah.
And you made that choice, but it made it easy because obviously your wife, was supportive.
I had the support there to do that. I think if I hadn't had that conversation with my wife, if I hadn't had the conversation with my GP, and actually looked at it, I would have somehow managed to get through it, or probably had a heart attack. Which is more likely the state I was in at that point, which was not going to be fair to my family or anybody else around me. It's almost a bit of a cop-out then, just to keep going. You really should need to tackle it head on. But having support like that, and you might get it from your partner, you might get it from a counselling service. I mean, I've been to counselling services subsequently for depression, which come on later in life. And the support's there. They'll show you techniques and tips and open your eyes. And if you're lucky enough to have a life coach, they will be able to question you in such a way as to let you take off the blinkers a little bit, to open it up a little bit and see what opportunities and choices you have to make. Because sometimes when we're so busy, we just think this is the way I have to do things. Yeah. I've said in the past that I lived my life according to my mother's wishes. I was raised by my mother, a single parent family, and her ambition for me was to get to a point where I could go about in a factory with a clipboard rather than working the machinery as she had done, as a mill worker in Paisley. And I became very blinkered to this, live my life along those expectations. And I think sometimes somebody has to say to us, or sometimes it takes a catalyst like that event to say, right, change. Change is necessary in my case. If you're lucky and you're working with a good life coach, they will question where you're going in life, why you're doing certain things, what's behind your thinking about going down this road. Does that fulfill your needs in life? Does it align with your values and the way you want your life to be? Does it align with how you want to interact with your family and your social, the ecology of your goals that we talk about? That without that catalyst, I think a lot of people stay stuck.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do stay stuck. And we do still have this stigma of mental health here. It's getting better. I mean, the research has shown that we're moving towards 1 in 3 people in any workforce experiencing some kind of form of mental health problem at work. The most consistent research says 1 in 4. But we're moving towards 1 in 3. So it's a big chunk of the population. And large organisations are becoming more aware of it. They're doing more mindfulness programs with people like yourself, and getting training in mindfulness and meditation and looking at this. But also, then they also have to look at the root cause of why they're causing so much stress within their staff as well. So I think there are better ways now of people seeing it. I've seen training where there's a lady here in Scotland who does it, and it's actually training people to look for the signs. Because we can cover it really well. I was a great actor, believe it or not. I went in with a smile on my face every day. Nobody knew I had a problem until I eventually kind of snapped, and everything went downhill.
A lot of people are good at hiding it.
Yeah.
I think we're all good at hiding and trying to be strong and
sort
of show
it's that kind of macho mentality as well. I should be the strong man always, and to show any weakness like this is wrong, but actually to be able to turn around and say, no, I need to work on myself. That's the strength. To be able to turn around and say, I need some help here, or I need to work on myself. I need to change something. Because otherwise you just keep going down that downward spiral rather than getting lifted up in the way we've experienced with meditation and coaching.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff on the media. I mean, a lot of social medias and things, and there are quite a lot of coaches that are coming on and sharing their knowledge and experience. And I think people are becoming more aware about self-development, and it's very, very important for them to work on themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts from, is working on yourself and kind of goes outwards, and you affect other people. I would say that if you're stressed out, eventually, you do make yourself ill, and it affects the whole family. Yeah. So you really need to look after yourself. Yeah.
A large part of what I had been doing was people pleasing, which was due to a lack of confidence. I mean, I'd gone, from being a kind of dual roles, IT and marketing in the Scottish enterprise, and doing that both internally and externally with client companies at a fairly low level, and then I went through IBM and a contract job, and eventually ended up, as a marketing manager for some very big organisations and for regions within them, and whole countries. And it at some points you get that imposter syndrome, that they're going to find me out, I'm not really this good at this stuff, maybe I'm not really this good. But you have to realise that people employ you for a reason. They go through fairly rigorous testing and things for the jobs that I was going for, and they know whether you can do the job or not. And then it comes down to things about, managing people. But a lot of what I've been doing was people pleasing within there, and not being able to say no. That's one of the biggest stressors I think we've got, is not being able to say no in the correct way.
Yeah.
To be assertive rather than aggressive
Yeah.
when we say no to somebody. And I think that's something I help a lot of people with now, is saying no in the right way.
Yeah, I've come across a lot of people as well, and then they want to say no, but they say yes. You can see this, I just want to make that person happy.
Yeah.
But what happens is really they get affected, and I actually see within friends that I have, they've just been affected physically, emotionally, mentally.
Yeah, and there's that analogy of you can't feed from an empty bowl.
Yeah.
So if you've got this bowl of energy that's you and what you've got inside you, and you keep giving out of that and giving out of it, eventually there's nothing left to give. And you're actually scraping around the bowl, hoping just to make it. And that's where I found myself, because I've been giving out and not being strong enough to say no.
Yeah.
And not being strong enough to stand by my values and my beliefs about things. And actually being silly as well in the way that I chased after the almighty pound, and the salary, and saying, well, that's a good job. I'd never worked in the industry before. I'd worked in construction. And I looked at this industry and I thought, that's a good job. That's 20 grand more than I'm getting just now, and a nice package and better car and all the rest of it. Yeah, I'll go for that. It was totally unsuited to me. It was just not me. It wasn't, and the culture of the organisation wasn't me either. I knew within 3 months, and offered to resign at that point because I knew this wasn't going to be right. But they said, no, we'll make it work. So of course you try to make it work. And what happens is you keep that people-pleasing thing going on and on, and you become the person that gets stuck with everything. Then you're owning all the problems from everybody else, and that's not a good place to be.
No. You've written a book, Get Your Mojo Working Fast, and you've obviously because you went through experience of kind of stress-related illness, and is that about how people can manage stress? What's your book about? Yeah,
it's letting people know through my experience about some of the things I did wrong, like people pleasing, like not being able to say no, and not having confidence in yourself, not knowing your own self-worth, not valuing yourself before others. And then in each of these I say things like you'll recognise it because your mind will be racing at night, or trying to fix everything for everybody or whatever, and then I'll give you tools and techniques to try and work through with that. Now also, we're trying to do that in a book format where it's difficult because you're having to get to almost the lowest common denominator for an audience, rather than whereas in one-to-one coaching.
Oh, by the way, we've got, sorry to interrupt, but we've got somebody there, Rafat, who's actually written something on the screen there. Self-awareness and self-development is highly important. Thanks for the Aladin, and your guest stress can be. Right.
Stress, it can be overcome. It can be. I think what you have to do is take control, and as you say, take responsibility for what you're doing with your life.
Yeah.
Know what you want from life. Know what your values are.
Yeah.
And when I realised that I was quite almost communist in my thinking, about egalitarianism and equal opportunities for everybody, and the kind of industries I ended up working in, it wasn't like that. It was about stabbing people in the back to get higher up, and the cultures in some of these organisations, and it just didn't. It's not me. So when you're trying to be somebody else to fit in with these things, I call it chameleon syndrome, where you're trying to fit in different places, you're tearing yourself apart. So once you realise you're doing this stuff, you can actually say, no, enough. Back to me. Let's get back to who Brian really is. And that took me a while to get back to, who Brian really is.
Oh, we've got another question here. It's Yvonne Daly. Great show. Brian, would you say more GPs are now open to offering alternate therapies?
As opposed to traditional medication?
Yeah.
I think, certainly from my point of view, when I was given sleeping pills at first. I was offered counselling. I said I had a very good GP. I was very fortunate because he did look after young doctors going through their training with stress, and he knew the signs. And he referred me to CBT counselling, so cognitive behavioural therapy, which to my mind is just proactive mindfulness, and actually being aware of your thoughts and doing that. So yes, they're getting better at it. There is still some, there's still, they look first at medication. They'll look at the fluoxetines, the Prozacs of this world to help you with these things. And yet I would say, take what works for you, with these things. If your GP is willing to offer you that, it might help you get on an even footing until the CBT works. And then, gradually face it out. But they are getting better, I think. I think it's because it's become such a big problem. Now they're having to be more aware of it. The chap, as I said, he's subsequently retired, so he was quite an older guy, but it happened to be in that field. I can't speak for anybody else because I don't have their GPs, but I think if you ask them, and I think what they call, I think it's the primary healthcare teams, mental health care teams now, are all set up to teach you and counsel you through CBT for stress related and for depression and things like that.
Well, Rifat mentioned about your book, Get Your Mojo. I know we were mentioning, where can they buy your book?
The book's available on Amazon.
Amazon?
So any of the Amazon sites, so Amazon.de, Amazon.com, UK, it's there.
So they could download it from the Amazon and down that, Also, you do one-to-one sessions with people, and I know I spoke to you way before, and you kind of do like the Skype calls and things like that. But it doesn't matter where people are.
No. I mean, I've worked with people in the last year in Australia, Holland, Belgium, Singapore, Canada, America, and even two in the UK. Time zones can be difficult. It can be. It means I end up working a lot of evenings, but that's okay when my kids go to bed early and my wife gets to watch the TV and I get to work for a couple of hours. That's fine. But it's an easy way to get in touch with people. It makes it so much easier now. You could work with a coach who lives near you, or you can work with one on the other side of the world. It's just finding a coach that you're comfortable with. It doesn't, and I don't think it will matter where they are or how much they're charging then, as long as you're comfortable with them. You'll get the results if you have a rapport with them. And I quite enjoy the one-to-one stuff because you get to see it. You get to see it happen. As you know, I use certain NLP techniques as well, and some of these can be quite dramatic and quick, and seeing the turnaround, you suddenly see the light bulb go on, and that's a wonderful feeling as a coach. I know you've experienced this as well with people. You see the light bulb going on for them, and they think, this is it. There's another way. I have a choice. There's 3 other choices, or maybe 4, and being able to see that when they light up like that really. It was actually part of my therapy through stress and depression, was being able to do that, train as a coach, and do that stuff, and because that really made me feel as if I had a purpose again. And this word purpose comes up a lot now, about living your life on purpose, and that's kind of a lot of what I do. A lot of the people I work with, they're very different. Mainly women, I have to say. For some reason, women open up a lot more than men do. I think men are happier if it's an executive coaching or a business coaching thing, but not so much in life coaching. I've only had 3 male clients in the last 4 years, and the ladies that I work with can be anything from empty nesters, people who their kids are getting older and they're suddenly thinking, right, what do I do? What's my purpose now? To people who hated their jobs and were stressed, and we actually. One lady we worked with, she managed to go on, and the company, because we got her confident about herself and knowing her own self-worth, the organisation she worked with developed a role to suit her strengths, and she's gone on in leaps and bounds from that. And just general confidence things, to allow people to break through some of the limiting thoughts they've got and limiting beliefs about themselves they've got, about how far they can go. Which I know is anathema to you because you see everything as wide open to you. But some of us, I've got a slightly more blinkered view of what's possible for me. And I love being able to open that up in the one-to-one sessions. But unfortunately, you can only reach so many people through one-to-one sessions. So it's the reason that many of the coaches go and develop online programs as well, as I've done, is to try and reach more people, to show them the structures and techniques and things to help them as well.
There's, I know Refat came with a question there, I think it just went there, and she mentioned the book that I have also, Wind Beneath Your Wings, which is in that, you know about that, Brian, that was launched, that was years ago, and it's on Amazon, and the idea behind my book was just to raise money for a school to build in Bangladesh, and that was, and I've got another message here. Why don't more people and organisations and employers use mindfulness and relaxation? Why don't they?
I think it's getting much better from the big organisations now. I think they're plugging into this stuff. You'll see that Google has its own director of mindfulness, or VP or whatever they call them, or there's somebody there who's actually in charge of this stuff. The bigger organisations who have resource do it. Trying to get down to the medium-sized organisations, like the construction firms I used to work with, maybe with 800 employees or something, or 450 employees. It's a big ask to take people out of their earning potential for even half a day to teach them techniques. But when you do that, when you see the offset, because what they're starting to see now is, yes, if we do give you this mindfulness training, this meditation training, you're not going to be off sick as much. Some people will take stress days. They'll take illness related to stress days, migraines, headaches and all that kind of stuff. The usual gastrointestinal stuff that people get as well from stress. That gets cut by just doing this. So we're getting better at it. I say larger organisations are better at it because they've got more resource to give to it. They have more, if you like, fat on the bone that they can allow somebody out of their job for a few hours every month to learn this stuff and do it. They can provide quiet places. Now that a lot of places, organisations are providing a quiet room where you're not allowed to talk. You can go in and just sit down and meditate or just chill for a few minutes. But it's the small organisations that find this hard because they don't have, they're so lean already. They don't have the fat in terms of time and resource to let people away to do this. Because that hits the bottom line really quickly. And I think that's why it doesn't happen so much in the medium-sized organisations. But there's a lot of progressive entrepreneurs out there who are seeing this stuff, and as they're bringing their companies up, they're bringing their staff into the fold with this stuff, and they're showing them it, they're exposing them to it, they're bringing people in to teach them. I know you've been into organisations, and there's a couple of other people here in Glasgow who do that kind of work as well. So I think it's getting there. I think what we need to tell them more about is the benefit of it, how much they're going to save in terms of man hours that are normally lost to stress-related illness.
Don't we think that, I feel that we should be teaching kids from the school age should be mindfulness, then we avoid all that stress when they, as an adult. That's where we should be as we're starting the schools should be, the first thing when the kids go into school, they should be doing that mindfulness before they start their work, at class. That's why I believe that, and you're right. Organisations are getting there. Especially new generations of entrepreneurs are realising, actually incorporating meditation or mindfulness in their life. They see how effective their business or how the employees, the people they're hiring, are being very effective, and even having that break in the afternoon for half an hour and having a meditation room just to go in there and just to re-energize and come back out.
I know from when I was really stressed, I was still doing my job, but I wouldn't say I was 100% effective. Certainly nowhere near towards the end when I effectively had the breakdown in 2008. So my employer wasn't getting the best out of me because I was stressed out all the time. I wasn't sleeping properly, your brain doesn't function properly, you don't make decisions quickly or well when you're in that situation. So when people are given that time to do that, you get all these benefits, of increased productivity, increased performance, less time off, that, they'll get that. And your point about the kids, as you know, I've got 2 young kids, and they get a little bit of it just now. And it really does depend on the head teacher's philosophy for education. They're very fortunate where my kids are, they've got this, and they use a program called Bounce Back, which I think originated in Australia. And I know from another personal friend of mine who's an assistant headmaster that they're bringing in mindfulness both for the teachers and the kids. They're starting to bring it, but that's high school level. And I think we do need to be starting a bit earlier. I'm trying to get my kids into it. We're trying to get my 7-year-old to sit down and still for 2 minutes. It's a task, but we're trying. We're trying.
Oh, that's good. We haven't got much time left, but we've got about 15 minutes. But we want to see if anyone wants to ask any questions. And Brian's here. If you want to ask any question about being stressed or anything that might kind of any questions that might help you to move forward. I mean, I know we were kind of talking about stress today, and I know we were thinking like talk about something how people get stuck in their life.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know where to move. They just don't know what direction to go to, what to do. You must come a lot quite a
that happens a lot. As I mentioned when we were chatting earlier about the empty nesters, people like that, and also people who've been made redundant maybe a bit later in life. You know, I'm talking late 30s on, and it's suddenly they kind of think, oh, was this what I was meant to be doing anyway? It gives them that chance to say, well, I've got this little bit of money that gives me some breathing space. And I've got this, I've got something that I can take some time to assess what I'm doing in life and think about where I'm going. And I'm a great advocate of looking at what's your purpose in the different areas of life, your purpose in your family, your purpose in the community, your purpose in the wider world. What is that? And helping people find that is a great thing for people because then everything falls into place then. Once you know that purpose and you know your values and what you're willing to, the values that you have to live within for you to be sane, and healthy, then that cascades down into your life and things just start to get better then when you know this stuff. So taking a more proactive look at it is fantastic, and that's what we do with a lot of clients is what's this purpose? What is this about? And well, what are the options we've got out there, and how can we take those blinkers and just widen them a little bit? Not too much, because you might blow their minds a wee bit that there's actually so much out there that they could do. But to say, like, okay, what else could there be? What else could there be out there? And that's one of the main things with stress and that I experienced was not thinking you had a choice. And if we can help people see that they've got a choice in what to do, you can stay in the job and be stressed out your mind and take the big bucks, but that's your choice. You're doing it. You can stay in and look after your sick family, but don't resent it because that was your choice to do it. You've chosen for whatever reason, social norms, whatever.
We've got another question. Yeah, I think it's
okay.
How do you find a purpose?
There's a couple of ways you can do this actually. There's a lovely Japanese idea of ikigaki, where you don't ask me to spell it, but if we've got show notes, we'll put it up. Okay. And it's a little Venn diagram that overlaps, and it's what you're good at, what you love to do, and what you can get paid for, and what people want, and where those all overlap. That's your ikigaki. That's your life purpose in there. All right. But that's Japanese mentality, as I'm thinking of it from a work point of view. The other way you can look to your purpose is actually through a technique that we use in NLP neurological levels, and we build up to the point of where it's your purpose. We start much lower down at where do you want to be, who do you want to be around. We go through things like values, etc., and then we work up to what is your purpose in being there in that situation. So what's your purpose in being Aladin Ali? What's your purpose in being Aladin, the coach, the health and well-being person? What's the purpose in that? And once you know that role, everything else kind of falls into place.
The funny thing is, like, I was watching this YouTube video. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he asked like 3 questions. He said to find your purpose, ask those 3 questions. I'll try to remember first one. He says, if you had $100 million, what would you do with it?
Oh, Alan Watts questions.
So, and if you had 6 months to live, what would you want to do with your life, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And and if you had any choice, whatever, you didn't need money.
Yeah.
What would you do?
If money was no object,
what would you do with it?
Yeah.
And then you would just write those points down. I mean, obviously they kind of can explain it a different way, and if you do that, you just realize what's important, and to you? And then you kind of figure, well, I asked this question to somebody I know, a neighbour of mine's, and he was kind of stuck. And I was chatting in a doorway, and I said, those are the 3 questions. And he said he wants money, money, money. He said, I want a big house. And I said, if you've got 6 months to live, what would you do? And he goes, I want to do charity work. Yeah. Totally different from what he said from the beginning. And then those 3 questions, and then he said, oh my God, never thought of that. Yeah. I want to help people. I want to do this. I'm going to do that. And then he just kind of opened his mind.
Yeah, I think it's taking the time out from that, getting on the career ladder thing that we kind of do here. Whatever career it is, and that's your life, and this is how you're going to, and that's your role through that. And we still educate kids to a certain extent in that way in the UK. We're getting slightly better at it, but when we can break that away from that to start thinking about what's important to me, it's actually the values that determine your purpose. It's your internal values. Yeah. One of mine's altruism and egalitarianism. Everybody should get an equal opportunity to do things. So, I can't work somewhere where that's not the case. I can't. It would stress me out. And to know your purpose, I think that question Alan Watt asked, he asked, I think it was at Stanford or something, he asked it, what if money was no object, what would you do the rest of your life? What gives you joy inside? And what, if you were, had a finite amount of time left, what would you do for that? And that really helps to narrow it down and really it can break those barriers down. It takes a wee bit more than that sometimes with some people. It can break the barriers down. I hope that answers your question about how to find purpose. There's actually various different ways, and you really get a coach or somebody to take you through it to do that. Or do that ikigagi thing. We'll sit. I'll find the exercise, and I think it's on my website somewhere, and we'll get that for you. We've
got about 5 minutes left. Just to obviously, if people want to contact you, how would they find you?
Right. If you go to briancanavan.com, that's my site. Brian Canavan Coaching on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I think I'm on there as Optiva Brian. But that'll change recently. But if you Google me, you'll find me. Don't Google Brian Canavan Coach, because you'll get an Australian rules football coach who's a national hero over there. Just best to go to my site, briancanavan.com.
Yeah, and obviously they could contact you via Facebook. But you said you offered about 45 free.
Yeah, the clarity session is to help you kind of really look at where are you stuck, why are you stuck, and then give you a bit of a roadmap to what you need to do then to move forward, whether that's with me or someone else or whatever you're going to do. But it's really a 45-minute session really to experience what it's like to work with a coach. I think that's quite important, that you have to experience what it's like working with a coach before you start, and also for them to give you some value. And that's a great way to show very quickly, break down some barriers for you in just that 45 minutes and show you that there are options, and then help you find that roadmap of the work that you're then going to need to do to get to where you want to go. Because there is no silver bullet, there's only work to be done.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, you need to work, you have to work on yourself. I think you never stop working on yourself. Develop, if you be 80, 90 years old, whatever, people think, that's it, but it's always working.
You'll always be getting taught, whether you take the lessons, another matter.
That's right. Always be taught, Take the good lessons, leave the bad ones behind. That's why I say leave it, forget it.
Well, you learn from everything. You learn from
everything, but you take the good things, and then, because we could talk about another topic about the past, how people fall in and carry their past to the future kind of thing, but maybe you could come back.
I'd love to.
And then we could discuss. I mean, there's so much that you could share. I know I've known you for years, and we've chatted about so many things. And you have helped so many people. But thank you, Brian, for coming to my show.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. Everything, and I'd love to see you again as well. You haven't seen for a while. Well, thank you. Thanks for Brian for coming on. I hope you've actually. He shared tips on how to manage your stress and maybe get unstuck. And obviously, he's got the book on Amazon that you could actually buy, and you actually could learn a lot from his book as well. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I definitely have enjoyed it. I've learned so much from Brian, and I will be taking his tips and putting this into practice. Practice is the most important thing. We could take things from you, learn things from, but if you put that aside, if you don't put anything practice, then we won't actually make any changes in our life. So this is exactly this is show about, is, you know, learning from experienced people, experts, and hopefully, you know, putting those things in practice in your life. So thank you again for joining me on this show. Thank you for coming on every week, supporting me, encouraging me to do the show every week. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do the show. And thank you for that. I want to thank the guys for the studio, you know, setting things up as well. Thank you for the makeup lady who does my hair and the makeup now. Thank you for that. And, you know, thank you to the viewers for coming on and supporting me. So I hope you could join me next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. We've got another guest that will be sharing their knowledge and experience with the viewers. Thank you again and have a magical day.
If you have a dream